Welcome to session on trigonometry. So focus on the screen. Trigonometry ratios are only applicable when the triangle you are considering is one of the angles is perpendicular. That is, one angle of the triangle should be a right angle, as shown in the figure. Like this is the right angle. So only when one of the angles is 90 degrees, the trigonometric ratios are applicable. The other two angles obviously are acute angles. They will be lesser than 90. Okay, so consider such a triangle where one angle is 90 degrees as shown in the figure, and the other two angles are acute angles, that is less than 90. Obviously, because the sum of all the three angles in a triangle is 180, so this is already 90. So these two angles together will be 90. So they will be acute angles. So trigonometric ratios are applicable only to the triangles where one of the angles is perpendicular or 90 degrees. Okay. Now, when you take such a triangle and consider an angle theta, okay, so it is found mathematically that the ratio of any two sides of this triangle, okay, are constant. That is, if we are calling this side as perpendicular, this side as base, this side as base, and this side as hypotenuse, okay, the ratio of any two sides for a given angle theta is constant. Okay, therefore these ratios, there are three sides, so there could be around 6 ratios. These ratios are found to be constant, and these ratios are named as shown in the figure. When you take the ratio of perpendicular to hypotenuse, that is perpendicular, this perpendicular by hypotenuse, this ratio is called sine, and because this angle is being considered, it is called sine theta. Okay, so sine theta is a ratio of perpendicular to hypotenuse. Similarly, another ratio of base, that is this base to hypotenuse, this hypotenuse is called as cosine, and because the angle involved is theta, we call it cosine theta, and this is the ratio, base by hypotenuse. So this base by hypotenuse is called cosine. Perpendicular by hypotenuse is called sine. Base by hypotenuse is called cosine. And the ratio perpendicular by base, that is this side, perpendicular by base, this side, is called tangent. These three are fundamental ratios of fundamental trigonometric ratios, which we should remember. So sine theta is perpendicular by hypotenuse, cos theta is base by hypotenuse, tan theta is perpendicular by base. Okay, so here you need to remember, this is the angle theta which is considered. Suppose I am considering this angle, let us call it as alpha. Okay, so if I say sine alpha, in that case what happens? This will become perpendicular, because any side which is looking towards that angle will become perpendicular. So this will become perpendicular and this will become base. So sine alpha would be like this perpendicular by this base. So depending on the angle which is being considered, perpendicular and base could replace each other. So I am considering theta here. So this side is base, whereas the side looking at this angle, this is a perpendicular. When I am considering alpha, the angle looking at this side, this will become perpendicular and this will become base. Okay. So when you identify hypotenuse, base and perpendicular of any angle in a right triangle, the fundamental ratios are sine of that angle, that is sine theta, is perpendicular by hypotenuse, cos theta is base by hypotenuse, tan theta is perpendicular by base. So these are the fundamental ratios. And if you take inverse of these ratios, like you are interchanging denominator and numerator, then that ratio name is changed. So if inverse of sine theta, that is hypotenuse by perpendicular, is called cosecant theta. Inverse of cosine, that is hypotenuse by base, is called secant theta. Inverse of tan, that is base by perpendicular, is called cot theta. So sine theta, cos theta, tan theta and their inverses, cosine theta, sine, cosine, cosecant theta, secant theta and cot theta. These are the 6 fundamental ratios that we need to remember in terms of ratios of the 3 sides of the triangle. Now here I give a memory tip to remember them. So remember these 3, I would call them as memory pegs. They are silly and trivial, they appear silly and trivial, but they work. So sin फिर consequences. So sin करोगे तो consequences भुगतना पड़ेगा. So sin फिर consequences. So in this फिर Hindi word phir, when you spell it in English, so p is the numerator and h is the denominator. So whenever you see sin, so it should sin फिर, so perpendicular by hypotenuse. So you can remember this. Then sin करोगे फिर consequences. So this would give you cosecant theta. Consequences would be nearly rhyming with cosecant. So sin करोगे, sin फिर consequences. If you remember that, you can remember the ratio of sine, and then also like inverse of sine would be cosecant. So cosecant ratio would be inverse of sine, the फिर, so h by p. Then cos theta, how do you remember? Cos बहुत है, so we will go for seconds. Cos बहुत seconds. So here cos बहुत, in Hindi बहुत, so b would be the numerator and h would be the denominator. Cos बहुत seconds. So because you have cosine which is similar to cos theta, cost. So when you say cost बहुत, then you will go for second. Second is nearly sounding similar to secant. So cos inverse would be secant, and the ratio would be, here it is base by hypotenuse, so it is inverse of that, hypotenuse by base. So when you want to remember cos ratio, cos बहुत, so b base on the numerator and h on the denominator. Okay. Then tan theta, how do you remember tan theta? So skin tan, tan हो गया पार्टी बाद में, tan पार्टी बाद में. So here your true memory should help you that party is the first and बाद में is second. You should not say tan बाद में party, no, then the ratio would go for a toss. So tan, then first word is party बाद में. Okay, if you remember this, tan party बाद में, because you are doing party बाद में, then you are sleeping on the cot, you are not going for party. So if you remember this, tan party बाद में cot. Okay, your true memory will help you when you try to visualize this circumstance. So tan theta, the ratio is given by party from party p, and that becomes numerator, and बाद में b. So p by b, party by p, the perpendicular by base. So tan party बाद में, so cot. Okay, cot is the inverse of tan. So tan would easily relate to cot, because tan party baad mein, so you are sleeping on cot. So cot, so tan would, inverse of tan would be cot. So cot, the reverse of this ratio. So base by perpendicular. Okay. So I leave it to you how you remember these ratios. If this memory peg works, you follow it, or you can devise your own memory peg. Clear? Okay, let's move further. Now consider there is an observer here who is walking and is looking at the lamp post. Okay, at the light of the lamp post. So here you see his eye level. This is called the horizontal level. Okay. Then the straight line that is joining his eye and the object, which is top of the lamp post here. So this straight line is called line of sight. Okay. And the angle that is made by this line of sight with horizontal level is called angle of elevation, because he is looking at an object which is elevated from his eye level. So this is called angle of elevation. Therefore, the angle CAB is called angle of elevation. Okay. Now, if there is an observer who is standing on a rock at a sea coast, okay, and he is looking at a ship downwards. Here, his eye level is the horizontal line. Then the line joining his eye and the object, that is ship here, would form the line of sight. Because he is looking downwards, this angle is called angle of depression. So because he is looking downwards, it is angle of depression. If he is looking upwards, it is angle of elevation. And his eye level is always horizontal line. Clear? So for this observer, this is angle of elevation. For this observer, this is angle of depression. So angle of depression is always measured with respect to horizontal line. Okay. Now consider two observers, one on the ground as shown here and another like in a flat or on the top of a building as shown here. Suppose they are looking at each other. Then the line joining the eye of this person and the eye of this person is called line of sight. So let us call this person as C. Person C is standing on ground and person A is standing in a flat and looking out of the window perhaps. So when these two persons look at each other, the line joining his person C's eye and person A's eye is called line of sight. And person C's eye level is the horizontal line for him and person A's eye level is the horizontal line for him. Now you see the angle of elevation for person C is angle ACB. ACB. So this is the angle of elevation for person C. And for person A, angle of depression PAC, this angle of depression PAC is the angle of depression for person A. Now PA and CB are parallel and CA is the transversal. Therefore, these two angles are alternate angles. Therefore, angle PAC is equal to angle ACB. Therefore, in this case, when two persons standing at different levels are looking at each other, then one person's angle of elevation is equal to the second person's angle of depression. Okay? Clear? Okay. Let's move. Now these are the values which you need to remember. So the possible angles are 0, 30, 45, 60 and 90. So if you remember these three, sine, cos and tan, you can easily like write down for cosecant and secant and cot theta, because they are inverse of these ratios. So if you remember for sine theta, cos theta, it is enough, because tan theta is sine theta by cos theta. So this by this. So this row by this row will give you tan theta. Okay, for example, sine 0 is 0, cos 0 is 1. So 0 by 1 is 0. Here sine 30 is half and cos 30 is root 3 by 2. So tan 30 would be half by root 3 by 2. That means half into 2 by root 3, that is 1 by root 3. So therefore, if you remember sine and cos, that is sufficient to get all the values of trigonometric ratios. Now how do you remember sine and cos? The simple way I suggest is, there are various ways people are coaching to remember these values, but what I suggest is, see, all values you write under root for both sine and cos. Okay, under root. Then denominator for all is 4. 4, 4, 4 and 4. Here also for sine, 4, 4, 4 and 4. I hope you are getting what I am saying. This is sine and this is cos, and this is same, like 0, 30, 45, 60 and one more 90. Okay. Now sine, you should remember, it starts from 0 and it ends with 4. So just write 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for cos it is reverse, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. This will give, if you simplify them, 0 by something is 0. So I'll write in black color. So this value is 0. So 1 by 4, it is 1 root is 1 and 4 root is, so 1 by root 2. So here if you simplify, 1 by, sorry, this is 1 by 2. This is, I'm sorry, 1 by 4. So this is 1 by 4. So when you simplify, 1 square root is 1 and 1 square root is 1 and 4 square root is 2. So sine 30 is half. So here if you see, root under root of 2 by 4, if you simplify, so this will be 1 by, so 1 and this will be root 2. Okay, here it will be root 3 numerator and 4 root is 2. Here it is 1, so it will get 1. So the values are similarly reversed. So this is 1. Here root 3 by 2. Here 1 by 2. Then here 1 by, this is 1 by root 2. And here it is 1 by 2. And here it is 0. Okay, so this is the way you remember the values for sine and cos. Once you know sine and cos, tan would be sine by cos. So 0 by 1 would be 0. Here it is 1 by 2 by 1 by 2 by root 3 by 2. So that means 1 by root 3. Then here it is 1 by root 2 by 1 by root 2. So it is 1. Then last one you see 1 by 0. So 1 by 0 is nothing but undefined infinity. You can't divide any number by 0. So it is undefined. You see here. So tan 90 is undefined. Okay. So here, thank you.